Welcome to the First Player Token Podcast, a short podcast for folks who enjoy playing board games with family and friends. I'm your host, Derek Bruff. In this episode, I have another family board game recommendation, Abandon All Artichokes. Abandon All Artichokes is a 2020 game from Gamewright, designed by Emma Larkins, with illustrations by Bonnie Pang. It's themed on the fact that no one likes to eat artichokes. Okay, so that's not universally true. Some people do like artichokes, but, well, they're wrong. I think artichokes are pretty gross, and I've had them served to me a few different ways, so I think I've given them a solid try. That said, I didn't like root beer for years, and then one day I did, so who knows, maybe I'll have artichokes in my future. Regardless, in this game, all artichokes are to be abandoned. The game consists of 100 cards, some of which are artichokes, and some of which are other vegetables, like carrots and peas and peppers. Each player starts with a personal draw deck, consisting of exactly 10 artichoke cards. All the non-artichoke cards get shuffled together into a garden stack in the middle of the table, and the top 5 cards are turned over to make up the garden row. On your turn, you draw 5 cards from your personal draw deck, select one of the face-up non-artichoke cards from the garden row to add to your hand, then play as many cards as you like. The artichoke cards in your hand don't do anything. That's one of the reasons you'd like to abandon them. But the other veggies all have different effects when you play them, like letting you compost an artichoke card from your hand so you never have to see it again. Initially, your hand will be full of artichokes, since that's all you have in your personal draw deck at the start of the game. But as you add other veggies from the garden row to your hand, they'll stay in your deck, making up a larger and larger proportion of your cards over time, and giving you more actions you can take on your turn. When you're done playing non-artichoke cards on your turn, you take all the cards you played, as well as any cards still in your hand, and put them in your personal discard pile. Then you go back to your personal draw deck and draw 5 cards. If none of them are artichokes, you have successfully abandoned your artichokes and won the game. But if any of them are artichokes, the game moves on to the next player. If at any time you need to draw cards from your personal draw deck, like at the end of your turn, and there aren't enough cards there to draw, you shuffle your personal discard pile and make it your new personal draw deck. That way, all the non-artichoke cards you've been collecting from the garden row come back around to be played again. And that's how you can, over time, weed out the artichokes from your deck well enough so that you draw a new hand of non-artichokes and win the game. The game's designer, Emma Larkins, calls Abandon All Artichokes a deck-wrecking game. Since you start off with a deck of cards, that's all artichokes, and you wreck it by ditching the artichokes and adding other vegetables. By the end of the game, your deck will have very different cards than when you began, and it will look different from other players' decks, since they'll be adding different veggies as they play. I should note that the illustrations by Bonnie Pang are half the charm of the game. All the artichoke cards work the same, but the artichokes themselves have 5 different expressions depending on the card. Some of them seem mad to be composted, while others try to win you over with big eyes. The other veggies all have fun personalities too, from the broccoli wearing sunglasses, to the lazy-looking potato, to the rather exuberant carrot. Speaking of that fantastic art, let's go to our resident horticultural correspondents for their thoughts on Abandon All Artichokes. What game do we have right here?
Abandon All Artichokes.
Yep.
That's right.
Artichokes and potatoes and broccoli and carrots and corn and
Peppers.
peas and...
So first let me ask you, what do you think about these little artichokes? They have some very interesting faces.
Oh!
I really like this one the best, or this one.
Yeah.
They look...
Describe their faces for our audience.
Well...
What is this one? What does that one look like he's doing or thinking?
He's like thinking happy.
What about that artichoke? How is he feeling?
He's feeling like the opposite of happy. He's like really grumpy and
Yeah.
like feeling rude.
He looks kind of scared. Do you think he looks scared or angry?
I think this one looks scared, but
Ah.
this one looks angry.
Yeah.
The one that I like is the freaked out one.
Yeah. He looks a little freaked
I also
out.
like the freaked out one, but this one looks kind of like nervous.
Or like on
Did you know that
First day of
artichokes?
school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that artichokes had so many different kinds of faces?
No.
What about the other vegetables? Which ones do you like?
I like
Carrots.
More
carrots.
Why do you like the carrots?
Because they're tasty.
Okay. Yeah.
And I like the card because you can abandon 2 artichokes from your hand. But you have to discard it, which is very sad.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
I
I'll call you.
From your sister, which cards do you like the best?
I like the corn because it's tasty and I really like its face. And then I really like the carrots because they're tasty and they look like super excited about
They look
something.
very excited. Do you like to really focus on getting rid of your artichokes, or do you like to load up on lots of white cards?
Won't tell you that question.
What's your strategy?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's fine. That's
What's
maybe
your
why
strategy?
I continue to lose.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
For me, one of the fun parts of Abandon All Artichokes is figuring out how to use the different card effects of the non-artichoke cards to your advantage. I'm partial to the broccoli early in the game since it lets you compost an artichoke if you have at least 3 artichokes in your hand. At the start of the game, your hand is full of artichokes, so the broccoli is a reliably useful card. Later in the game, it doesn't get used, but it's still a non-artichoke card, helping you draw those 5 veggies you need to win. Sadly, my fondness for the broccoli hasn't helped me learn how to spell broccoli. Is it 2 C's and 1 L, or 2 L's and 1 C? There are also a few cards that let you interact with your opponents, like the beet, which looks very excited to be here. When you play the beet, you and another player of your choice reveal a random card from your hands. If they're both artichokes, you get to compost those artichokes. If they're not, then you swap those cards. This can be great to play when you have a handful of artichokes because you're likely to compost one or trade it for a better card. But it can backfire if the wrong random cards are revealed. One of the best parts of the game is all the drama that can happen at the end of each player's turn as they draw 5 new cards from the top of their deck to see if they've won or not. Sometimes you'll draw a non-artichoke veggie and then a second, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then, darn it, that 5th card was an artichoke, so you didn't win, and the game continues. When someone finally does draw 5 veggies in a row that aren't artichokes, it feels quite triumphant. Abandon All Artichokes handles between 2 and 4 players. I haven't tried it with 2 players, but I imagine it's a bit more fun with 3 or 4. The metal tin that the game comes in, which is adorably shaped like an artichoke, says the game is for ages 10 and up, but my 7-year-old likes it. Reading is required, but this makes the game easy to learn when playing with readers, since you don't have to explain everything up front. The cards will tell you what the cards do. There's plenty of tactics. What can I do with the cards in my hand and in the garden row right now? And just a bit of strategy. Should I focus on composting artichokes or adding other veggies to my deck? And some luck, particularly when drawing that new hand at the end of the turn to see if you've won. The game plays in 20 to 30 minutes, short enough for attention spans for most young players. All that to say, you can probably play artichokes with your 6 or 7-year-old, especially if they're reading. All this means that this is a game that's fun for kids and adults alike. It's easy to learn, fun to play, doesn't overstay its welcome, and retails for just $13. Plus, it's adorable. Seriously, that grumpy-looking onion, so adorable. For more fun family games from Gamewright, try Sushi Go, which I reviewed back in episode 4, or Forbidden Island from episode 6. And if the deck-wrecking aspect of Abandon All Artichokes works for you, you might try other games that use this mechanic, which is usually called deck building, since you're making your personal draw deck better as you go. The Quest for El Dorado and Clank are 2 of my favorite deck building games. That's it for this episode of the First Player Token podcast. See the show notes for more info and photos of Abandon All Artichokes, as well as a link to the podcast's Facebook group. And if you have a minute, please share this or any other episode on your social media platform of choice. That goes a long way to helping new listeners find us. I've been your host, Derek Bruff. Thanks for listening. Now it's time to play some games.
and eggplants, onions,
Peppers.
more carrots,
Peppers.
more potatoes, peppers,
Peppers.
more peas.
And peppers.
Thank you for that. That will be very hard to edit.
Peppers.